Hello, friends. Welcome to a meditation today on ancestral lineage and neuroscience. Now, our ancestors really were living in the fight or flight system, this sympathetic nervous system that was really active because they were constantly aware of other animals and other humans who would threaten their survival. And we started to develop strong intuition and instincts from our body. And the body had a main role in our survival. And we were constantly stressed by the environment in our cultures, and not much has changed, even though our survival instincts don't need to be on overdrive like they are. And when our instincts are on overdrive, we get sick and diseases spread. Depression, for example, continues to rise, and suicide continues to skyrocket. And so the reason that we are shifting away from part of the way that our primitive brain used to behave and entering more into this place of calming and regulating the nervous system with the support of meditation is to bring the mind and body together, where we can actually start to minimize those stressful moments and not live as constantly in the fight or flight. One of the first things that I teach in my private practice, the themakarandamethod, is that what we put our attention on is what we make real. So how can we use neuroscience and this technology that we're starting to understand when we're studying meditation on a cognitive level and a physical level for how meditation can actually support us to lower these potentially stressful situations that we encounter? So the practice of meditation is really to quiet the mind and listen to the body, listen to spirit, listen to God, listen to oneness, listen to quiet, really just promoting quiet. Regardless of what you think about a higher power, meditation is really to quiet down the busyness, to allow for the amygdala, this located in the limbic system of the brain, this fear response, to take a breather and not live on overdrive. And this other part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is important to start to understand the higher order of thinking, this complex processing of abstract information. And the brain is flexible, we know that. Neurons that fire together, wire together, is a common phrase that we know. And so with meditation, we're training ourselves to incorporate the different parts of the brain versus letting the amygdala take over control when we're not actually in a fight or flight scenario. But when we are in a fight or flight scenario, when we are being triggered into a fear response, that brain will just automatically pop into gear. And we'll be able to be present with what's happening so that we can engage and respond accordingly to get ourselves to safety. And so what we're doing in the meditation practice, in seated mindfulness meditation, is allowing for there to be a small space between what Viktor Frankl calls the space between our stimulus and the response, the trigger and the reaction. So Viktor Frankl says, Between the stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And so today, in our meditation practice, I'd like to invite you to allow for that gap between the inhale and the exhale, the gap between thinking and then continuing down that thought. And keep rooting yourself back to the present moment so that we can start to allow for us to become less reactionary to what happens in our lives so we can have freedom. Let's practice. Find yourself in a comfortable position. Perhaps soften your eyes closed or allow for yourself to go inward. And you'll hear 3 bells to begin and 3 bells after about 15 minutes to close. Simply noticing your breath. Noticing how you feel today, what it's like to slow down and breathe. And perhaps you'd like to establish an anchor, something that allows for you to come back over and over throughout your meditation practice, that keeps you in the here and the now. The sounds that I can hear around me is a great anchor. The breath, the sensations of the body. Even the light that I can see behind my closed eyes. Notice what works for you and be with that. Perhaps noticing if there is a stimulus. And pausing before doing anything. So for example, a stimulus could be a sensation that you feel. Just noticing the stimulus. Waiting a moment or two. that space. And then maybe you choose to shift the body to itch the scratch. Or maybe you just keep breathing. Notice what's best for you in your body, in your meditation today. And regardless if any stimulus comes up, my invitation is for you to be kind to whatever arises, because neurons that fire together wire together. So when we're kind, regardless of the stimulus, we start to be able to respond with kindness, regardless of what comes up. And we train ourselves here in the meditation practice. Noticing the space between the inhale and the exhale. See if you can linger in that space. Notice what happens. allowing in all the sounds around, inviting them forward. Reminding yourself you do not need to respond right now. You can just sit and breathe and be, as long as you are safe here and now. And if you ever have to check in and wonder if you're safe, you can always open your eyes and look around. Are there threats? If there are, respond to them. If there are not, come back to yourself. Come back to your anchor. And be here, right now, with yourself right now, with kindness. Noticing the stimulus of the bell and giving yourself some moments to respond. Thank you so much, dear friends. The space that we're creating is critical, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. So we can practice being present here. And when we're present and when we can respond with intention, we can create peace and love that we know the world needs. Thank you for your practice. See you next time.